Been another very busy day in the political world, and we have a lot to talk about tonight in less than a half hour, so let's get to it. Starting from the top, in America's next game show, the Veepstakes. Who will Vice President Harris pick as her running mate? Plus, some eye-raising comments made by former President Trump during a television interview. A new warning as scammers take advantage of this crazy week in politics. And we'll take a deep dive into the one topic most politicians want to avoid at all costs, and why this year there's no getting away from it. But we begin tonight on the campaign trail. New presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris delivering a keynote address at the American Federation of Teachers National Convention, or the AFT. Now, that group was actually the first union to formally endorse her as a presidential candidate. And in her address, Harris laid out more of some of the priorities that she has as she wishes to become our nation's 47th president. Take a listen.
We who believe in the freedom to vote will pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. We who believe in the freedom to live safe from gun violence will pass an assault weapons ban. And we who believe in reproductive freedom will restore the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do.
The AFT was more of a backdrop. She didn't really talk about education. She was really talking about this reproductive rights issue. And by the way, we have a lot more on that coming up as that debate rages on. Coming up in about 10 minutes, how this will factor in to people's decision to vote for either Harris or Trump. In the meantime, there's a big decision that still has to be made. Kamala Harris needs to decide who is going to join her on the Democratic ticket this November. She has her hands up in the air, as you can see in this graphic. There are still a few options out there. And with the Democratic National Convention approaching quickly, time is running out. Fox's Doug Luzader taking the poll of what people in Washington are saying tonight. Doug.
Hey, Roop, let's talk VP picks. Democrats have a lot of work to do in a pretty short period of time. So Kamala Harris does have, we think, something of a short list to work off of. And when we look at running mates, we often look to the ranks of the nation's governors. They already have been vetted to some degree. They have executive experience. And if they can bring an important state into play, that's a big bonus. So we look at, for instance, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Roy Cooper of North Carolina, maybe even Andy Beshear of Kentucky, and of course Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. And then you look specifically at other states, and we're talking about folks like Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, for instance. That could be an important state. There are also some folks within the administration, like Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. No matter who the pick is, the vetting process will have to move pretty quickly. The party wants to get this wrapped up, perhaps by August 7th, to meet an Ohio ballot deadline that's well in advance of the August 19th Democratic Convention in Chicago. Back to you.
Doug Luzader for us in Washington. And yes, like Doug just told you, the Harris administration did reportedly start the vetting process for Governor Whitmer, but we should point out that she told Fox 2's Tim Skubick just not long ago that in no uncertain terms, she's not going anywhere. She doesn't want to go to Washington. She wants to stay right here. I guess time will tell. But this all speaks to a larger point, a bigger picture. We've heard from a lot of you that have a lot of questions about Harris and her presidential platform in general. What do we know about her? So we hit the streets to find out what specifically you want to know.
I would like to know a little more of the policies that she's taking care of under our president.
Help the homeless, stop their violence. You know, Michigan, we are terrible here with that. And something needs to be done about that. So I hope that she would be able to help us more with that.
I would like to know what she's bringing to the table, pretty much, like what type of policies and bills she'll bring about and how she's going to help the middle class. Seeing how serious they is about it, that makes me want to go out and vote. If they're not serious about it, that's not catching my attention at all.
By the way, if you see me out and about with my cell phone, stop and talk to me. I want to know what you think. In the meantime, on the other side of the campaign trail, former President Trump called into Fox and Friends this morning for a wide-ranging interview with some eye-raising comments. First, they talked about President Biden's televised address last night.
I think it was a coup. They didn't want him running. He was way down in the polls, and they thought he was going to lose. They went to him, and they said, you can't win the race, which I think is true. I think he was so far down, and they said, you're not going to win, and you're not in great shape, and you did poorly in the debate. I think the debate started everything.
Well, a couple of minutes later, the conversation took a turn towards the border, and the former president used a very specific statistic that you may have heard before.
Remember this. Every single country all over the world, unless they're stupid, is releasing their prisoners and their gang members and their bad people into our country. They're releasing them into the United States. Venezuelan crime is down 72%. Their prison population is becoming much smaller. I'm surprised they haven't just moved all of them.
If that sounds familiar to you, it's because, guess what? He said this before. In fact, he said it to me.
One stat before we go. Venezuela was very crime-ridden. They announced the other day 72% reduction in crime in the last year. You know why? They moved all their criminals from Venezuela right into the good old USA. And Biden let them do it. It's a disgrace.
But, sir, where are those numbers coming from?
I guess I get them from the papers in this case. I think it's a federal statement, or, well, they're coming actually from Venezuela. They're coming from Venezuela.
We'll have to check on that.
It's a disgrace.
And guess what? We did check on that, and that's where this Fox 2 reality check comes in. You see, the goal of the Fox 2 reality check is to separate fact from fiction, and God knows on your phone right now, there's a lot of fiction, especially in this pivotal election year. So, in the interest of making sure that you have all your facts, we took a closer look at the president's claim. Here it is. According to the latest numbers from Venezuela's Ministry of Interior. It's an important place. They're the ones keeping track of this. There has not been a 72% decrease in crime in the last year. On April 2nd, government officials reported a 32% drop in violent crime, but they cited economic factors and law enforcement victories, not migration. Well, later in this morning's TV interview, the former president talked about his likely new opponent in November, Vice President Kamala Harris.
She's a radical left, not very smart person.
Mr. President,
she failed her bar exam. She couldn't even pass her bar exam. It was brutal on her. She couldn't pass it. She thought she'd never be able to pass it.
Once again, with anybody who's in political office, we're going to be doing our jobs, pointing out what's right and what's wrong. Here is your reality check. While it is true that Kamala Harris did not pass the California bar exam on her first attempt, that's not abnormal. In fact, listen to this. In California, the average pass rate for first-time test takers, 29%. 7 out of 10 people don't pass it the first time. It actually has the highest passing score required in the nation. We should point out, though, most importantly, it was on her second try that Harris passed the bar exam, moving on to become the district attorney of San Francisco, the attorney general of California, a senator, and then the vice president. If you're wondering, we are watching and fact-checking the Dems, too. In fact, it was on this show that we pointed out that President Biden incorrectly said during a debate that no troops died under his watch. He was emphatic about it during the debate. The president is wrong. Just ask the 13 families who lost loved ones under Biden's presidency as troops were pulling out of Afghanistan. We're working for you and ready to help you vet the things that you see and hear as this election cycle continues. Listen, they all have moments where they don't tell the truth, and we're going to watch it really carefully. If you see something on the internet, especially, and you're not sure if it's true, if it's legit, you can always contact us and send us the info, and we'll, you know what we'll do? We have a whole staff in our newsroom right now. They'll dive in. They'll check it. We'll do that reality check for you. The fastest way to get in touch, email us at fox2newsdesk@fox.com. If you can, by the way, scan that QR code on your phone right now, it'll open up your email box. You can send us a question right now. You can always message us on any of our social media pages so we can help clear up the confusion and separate fact from fiction or fact from social media. And hey, don't put your phone away. You might need it again in just a second. Here's why. It's time for tonight's Pulse poll. Looking down the road, Fox News invited newly minted presidential candidate Kamala Harris and former President Trump to take part in a debate on September 17th. And tonight, we're asking you, do you actually want to hear from both these people? Is a debate like this helpful? Guess what? An overwhelming 87% say yes, the debate is very helpful, whereas 13% say, not so much. They say it could be just political theater that muddies the water. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen, cast your vote, or you can always find our polls at our website, fox2detroit.com/polls. Well, as you know, in politics especially, there's been no shortage of news, and unfortunately, scammers are trying to take advantage of you. Now, according to a new warning from the Fed, scammers now are posing as political groups, and they're sending text messages asking for donations in order to con voters out of millions of bucks. Now, these scammers get your data from a lot of different places. Sometimes that means hacking or maybe tricking you into signing the information over yourself. And some sources come right from the U.S. government.
Voter registration rolls in the United States are public. So they know your name, your address, whatever address you registered to vote at, and any party affiliation you have.
So we took data assembled by the FBI, and we created this chart to show you the massive spike in the number of Americans' records being exposed to scammers since 2005. And you'll see the dramatic rise all the way over here. There's a lot of data here, but here's the kind of bottom line, the headline. In 2023, more than 320 million Americans, that's a lot, 320 million Americans had their data compromised. And anytime there's a way for you to check if you're one of them, there's actually a web tool called Have I Been Pwned? It's spelled P-W-N-E-D. Kind of weird, but that's how it's spelled. It's on their site. You just search your phone number or email. It'll scan millions of leaked files to see if your data's been exposed, in which case you should probably change a few passwords, which we should all probably do more often, which reminds me, I should probably get that done on my email as well. All right, back now for a long-time Thursday night tradition on Fox 2. Yes, it's Let It Rip, and joining me now on this really important topic, Republican State Senator Jim Runstead, Democratic State Representative Noah Arbit, and our own Charlie Langton, who's always out and about on Fox 2. It's good to see all three of you. Let's get to it. We're talking about this huge tectonic plate that's moved in this election, and here we go. I want to show you a poll real quickly here. How quickly things can change in a few days. This poll shows right now that Harris has a 20-point lead with young voters. This is according to Axios. This poll was conducted on the 21st, 60 to 40%. Jim Runstead, when you look at numbers like that and you look at $100 million that this woman was able to raise in just a short day, what does that tell you about where this country is going and what it wants?
That's one poll from younger voters. I was looking at polls just before I came in here, and the polls are pretty steady from what Biden had to what Kamala Harris has. The swing states, she's still underwater. This is the critical stuff. This is the key stuff, not some one demographic on one poll, but I think that...
Jim, underwater, 2 points, 3 points, is that underwater to you?
Oh, no, it was 2 points in Michigan. It was 1 point down in Wisconsin, but the other states, they were 6, 8, 10 point differences on the swing states.
Noah, what does that poll tell you right now about what's happening, and what are you sensing out there with young people?
Well, as a young person myself, 28 years old, you know, I sense everything has shifted. This is tectonic of a moment, as tectonic of a moment in politics as there could be. We're excited, we're fired up, we're ready to elect Kamala Harris, our 47th president of the United States. And young voters are excited to see someone who's actually going to ensure that we have the rights, resources, and opportunities to fulfill our biggest potential.
Charlie Langton, we'd call the show The Pulse. You have your hand on the pulse more than anybody else in Metro Detroit when it comes to what people are saying and thinking. Kamala Harris, is this just a honeymoon period? And is it just going to be an uphill battle from here for her?
No, I think this is a little bit of a honeymoon period, but she is different. She is new. And I think that Trump, I just heard him the other day, it's the same old thing. He's got to reinvent himself. Now, I think it's going to come down to a couple of the issues. You know, Kamala Harris is interesting. We don't really know what she's going to say. TikTok is going wild and crazy on some of the wild and crazy things she says. But the bottom line here is, let's get over this honeymoon period. They've got a convention up. Democrats will get a couple bumps after that. But then we're getting real close to the election. How will the Republicans frame Kamala Harris? Is it a border issue, maybe? Is it something that she's not confident? I don't know where it is going to be. But what is it going to... But the problem I see with Trump is this is going to be election again. Do you like Trump or don't like Trump? Kamala Harris is secondary.
Okay, let's take the issues out of the picture for a moment here and go to Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican who, of course, told all of the party leadership and the Republicans, stop making this personal. Don't make it about her sex, her gender. Don't make it about her race, Indian or black. Make this about policy. And then people came out after that and said this is a DEI hire. Jim, I'm going to ask you as a Republican who I know very well is a good man, a good person. How is it a DEI hire if this person was the district attorney of San Francisco, the attorney general of California, a senator, and then the vice president of the United States? It seems like she's checked a lot of boxes, wouldn't you think, just qualification-wise?
Well, certainly it shouldn't be about race. It shouldn't be about gender. But everything that Biden is saying, these are the way he's making these appointments. It's outrageous. On the Republican side, it's merit, merit, merit. We don't care what your race and gender are. We want the best candidate. But everything I'm hearing out of Biden in terms of this selection, it's about these optics, not the merit, not the best.
But what about the merits of the district attorney, the attorney general, a U.S. senator, and the vice president of the United States? Isn't that a great resume, wouldn't you say, to go run for office? It's more than what Trump had when he ran.
Oh, I don't have a problem with her resume. I have a problem with the Democrat Party always using race, gender, these divisive things to try to carve wedges into the narrative, and that's what's happening
called
here.
her a lunatic the other day. What category does that fit into?
Projection.
It's certainly not. Is there male lunatics? Is there diversity of lunatics? It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. No, he was asking specifically.
Okay.
He's asking about these optics.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about policy for a moment. Kamala Harris and the border. She was never quite the border czar, as has been heavily reported falsely. She was simply given the task of figuring out the root cause of the problem. That being said, do you think Kamala Harris did a good job with the border, Noah Arbit?
I think the Republicans in Congress did a terrible job with the border.
But the question isn't that. I understand. She was up against the Republicans.
No.
Did she do a good job as someone who was in charge of determining what was wrong at the border? Do you think she did a good job?
Her job was a diplomatic mission to look at the root causes of migration with the Triangle countries in Central America.
And you believe she did well with that?
I absolutely do believe she did well with that. But the fact is that the Biden-Harris administration had a bill in Congress's on Congress to make sure that the border was going to be fixed, to channel resources to administrative law judges to process asylum claims appropriately and make sure that we are channeling resources where they're needed at the border. But Republicans in Congress, balked because Donald Trump said no. He wanted to keep this alive as a political issue.
You got to be able to cross the border, cross the aisle, I should say, and get things done.
This was negotiated. This was a bipartisan negotiation.
But it didn't
because of the Republicans.
No.
Because of the Republicans.
Okay,
you want the truth of what actually happened?
Go ahead, Jim. We have 2 minutes left. Go ahead, Jim.
Let me get the truth on what actually happened. Obama's border chief said if we hit 1,000 crossings a day, that's a crisis. We're now at 45 through his entire time. Biden's, it was 4,600 per day. A crisis by Obama's own. So then this ridiculous bill that was put in by a handful of Republican who always go along with all this garbage. So what it said is we're going to let 5,000 come in a day, which is what's happening legally. And then after 5 years, we're going to amnesty them.
As Americans, they deserve better than both Republican and Democratic lawmakers who don't want to get it done for the right reason, but to support their candidate. That's the truth. Now, here's my question to you now. You talk about what Charlie mentioned, the tone and the mood of the campaign. These two have a responsibility to get that temperature way down. Do you think Donald Trump is doing a good job at that?
I think with all these candidates, whichever side it is, if you are saying that the other side is a threat to our democracy, a threat to the republic, that you're going to be having people thrown in.
But do you think Donald Trump is doing his part to bring the... Let me ask you this. If Joe Biden, and I'm just going to give you a quick thing, if Joe Biden kissed the helmet of a fallen a firefighter and then looked at the front of it as though the person is still there and pointed it and walked away, the Republicans would fry him and call him a lunatic and a weirdo. This president is immune from anything that is considered strange or lunacy, and perhaps there's a double standard. Do you think that this man needs to rein it in a little bit?
He was hugging the kind of image, the effigy of this person who
kissing the helmet. Yes.
I mean, I don't think that had Biden had done that, I couldn't care less. I care about his policies.
But do you think he needs to do better to bring the temperature down and to be more presidential? Do you think the president?
I would like if both sides were dealing more with the issues and less on the personalities. Yes, I would like that much better.
What about you, Noah Arbit? Do you think Kamala Harris is going to run a clean campaign, or is she going to go downright nasty?
Kamala Harris is going to run a campaign that frames the stakes for our democracy and for our country adequately and appropriately. You know, the Democrats are not the party that is talking about that fomented a coup, an insurrection on January 6th.
Before the break, we were having a really important discussion about what these two candidates can contribute. We want to give all of our panelists an opportunity to wrap things up with their final thoughts. Noah, let's start with you.
Sure. Well, I think that the American people want a president who's going to call on our better angels, a president that's going to help all of us, no matter where we live, where we come from, the color of our skin, or who we love, the rights, resources, and opportunities to achieve our fullest potential. That president is Kamala Harris.
Representative Arbit, thank you so much. Representative Runstad, go ahead. You have 30 seconds.
Well, Kamala Harris is Biden 2.0. You're going to have the exact same thing. Exploding border, people coming in, bringing in fentanyl, death, destruction across the border, massive inflation, crime, everything you saw with Biden, you're going to see the same thing and more with Kamala Harris.
Charlie Langton, final thoughts.
Get ready for the dirtiest, ugliest, raciest campaign that this country has ever seen. You think it's mean now? Get ready. It's going to be meaner. I'm telling you right now, from both sides. Don't like it, but that's the reality.
Charlie Langton will be here for every minute of it, of course, covering it, as we all will here at Fox 2. A big thanks to our panel for helping break down the big issues for us tonight. It's a wild political cycle, and the Pulse is here to keep you covered all the way through November and beyond.